Welcome everybody to another edition of the Fantasy Golf Insider webcast and podcast. I'm Jeff Bergerson. My screen name on daily fantasy golf sites is JT Bergerson, joined as always by my partner, Zach Turcotte. His screen name is mysteriously. We are with fantasygolfinsider.com. Come check us out on our site. We got a ton of free content and a lot of great premium content. So come join us. This broadcast, for those of you who can't watch the webcast on YouTube, is also available as a podcast on iTunes. Be sure to check that out. We tweet that out. Otherwise, search it on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review. We'd appreciate that. And also be sure to subscribe to us on our YouTube channel so you know exactly when our video comes out every week. We come to you this week early in the morning, Zachary.
It's my favorite time of day.
I got Gatorade. Zach has a little. What do you got, Zach?
This is real right here, though. Well, we got a little bit of orange juice and Red Bull.
Everyone's always curious as to what we're drinking. So it's early morning. It's 7 a.m. So we're not drinking booze except the shots of the week. We're not going to mail it in.
Exactly. Not yet.
So this week we have an exciting announcement. Zachary, you want to tell everybody about it?
Yeah, we've been in discussions for a while to purchase one of our competitors, and last week we finished up a deal to acquire PGA DFS. David's been around for just about a year now. He came around in February, so just a few months after we established our site, and so he's built up a pretty strong product over there. And decided he wanted to kind of start to transition a little bit, and so we made an offer the other week that he accepted, and now we're in the process of kind of evaluating the direction that we want to go as far as the entire pool of subscribers. So, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be sending out a couple of different links to current subscribers for his site, offering them a discount on services from our site, and then as well we will have a discount for folks on our side that want to try out what his product was like. We're going to take the rest of this year to look at the transition, kind of weigh our options a little bit, see how people like the data, and then hopefully during that time we'll kind of find a solution to bring everything together all under one single solution. So it's going to take a little while. There's a lot of different subscriptions, a lot of different price points and things. But we will eventually get everything kind of housed under one roof. So we're very excited with that. It's going to give us a great opportunity to grow and to reach a wide new audience. So I'm very excited about it. I know David's excited about it as well.
Yeah, and we'd appreciate your patience during the transition. Like Zach said, we're going to be sending out emails with further developments, but please be patient with us. We're working on the transition and combining the two, so we'd appreciate that. Let's talk about last week, Zachary. Do a little recap of the Honda Classic.
Can I just start doing shots right now?
Yes.
Yeah. Actually up top it wasn't terrible. For the most part, the picks at the top were pretty reasonable. Unfortunately, the guy that we really liked last week up there, Patrick Reed, in terms of cash games, he absolutely threw it in last week. It was not a very good effort. Hurt a little bit in GPPs, but a lot, I think, in cash games. I think when I looked at it, he was close to 45% owned in certain games. So that always hurts. Whenever you lose that top guy like that, it's always pretty painful.
But it wasn't all bad. I mean, our model is absolutely crushing.
Model won again. I think people were a little nervous when we lost two very unlikely guys to him, Patrick Reed and Charles Howell III, the two guys you would absolutely predict would make the cut in some way. They missed, but somehow Dirt McGirt showed up again. Another top 10 finish. I think he finished T8 for the week, which was unbelievable. The guy is he's kind of inconsistent. He can be painful to cheer for. He was tied for the lead actually during the first day, and I thought, this has T45 written all over it right here. Our statistician Eric was very excited. Oh, he's in first. I said, you're going to be so upset when he puts up a +7 on Saturday afternoon and falls back, but he started falling back, and he fought his way back on Saturday and Sunday. So that really saved the team. That team ended up, again, the optimal lineup across the board. Since the new year, it's actually 6 of 8. Unofficially, since we started putting it in play in the fall and started looking at it, it's 11 out of 14. So now that we put that out there, I'm sure I'll lose 2 or 3 weeks in a row. But we've been really excited, and that actually helped salvage some of my losses because GPPs didn't go all that well this week. It was a real tough week just because I went with a lot of stars and scrubs type of lineups. It just unfortunately seemed like almost every scrub we put our hands on this week completely fell apart. I mean, Brian Harmon, Piercy, Herman,
Zach Blair.
Yeah, a little bit with him. The only guy who came through down at 5,900 was Van Oswegen, and even he pretty much fell to pieces by the end of the weekend. He was plus 10, T75, something like that. So it was a challenging week in that range. It looked like there was a ton of value there, and then none of those guys really played well. A lot of those guys, they were dead within the first half hour and taking the course, which was unbelievable since most of those players had pretty decent histories there. So it was just fortunate to salvage back some of the money on the optimal lineup for the cash game team. So that always helps out. It's just a great lesson for bankroll management.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to get too excited. These are the tougher tournaments of the year. You look at the Rivieras, you look at the Honda, Doral. These are all challenging courses. It doesn't take a lot for somebody to have a real bad mistake or two on round one or round two, and then they're just gone. They're out of there. So
it's nice to see the model doing well. We worked hard at making it and building it together with Eric so that it is really indicative of success. The optimal lineup, for those of you who ask, Zach puts that in his daily spin article every week for those of you who can't run the optimizer on Excel, which we can't, so so we print it. It's not going to win every single week. We're not going to pretend like it's the end-all, be-all, and it will win every single week.
It's a great starting point for your cash game.
Yes, it's a great starting point. If you want to use it, that's fine, and I am confident that it will win more times than not over the long term.
It's great because
it
takes out so much of the bias that you can
noise.
have week to week.
Right.
You look at it from week to week and you think, oh, Dirt McGirt, boy, he blew the cut badly there a couple weeks ago. I wrote him up, and now I don't want to put him in. Now you see him on that optimal lineup, and the numbers are just saying,
it makes sense for him to succeed.
Play this guy. Surprisingly, it usually ends up working out. It's like with Sergio last week. You just have to feel confident that
that's right.
He hasn't completely nosedived.
Based on all of the variables.
So keep looking at that, and it's going to be a good place to start. So if you're going to run 2 or 3 lineups, take that as your starting point, and then just make little differences, little changes to it to put it together your other couple of lineups, and you should have pretty reasonable success from there. That's a good starting point each week. And so
Eric, you don't have to be perfect in cash games. Right. Obviously, you just need to be better than half the field.
Yeah, and this year it's been. I mean, last year you had to kind of be 6 of 6 a lot of weeks, and there were one or 2 weeks in there where 6 of 6 didn't even cash, and then 5 of 6 that was. You start feeling somewhat confident now.
4 of 6.
4 of 6 has been cashing the last several weeks, particularly if you can find a guy who finished near the top of the field. So it's a different game so far this year. It'll be interesting to see if some of this variance kind of corrects itself, because you'd see last season maybe 15 to 20% of lineups would be 6 out of 6. This year it's like 2-3% at the most. So it's been much trickier than last year. So
should we turn the page on the Honda?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Let's get to Doral.
On to shots of the week. And the shot of the week this week is not a particular shot. It's not a particular hole. It's how we were greeted by the NBC broadcast on Sunday. It was so funny. So they cut in on the coverage, and a lot of you know what I'm talking about as you were watching. And Smiley Kaufman hits it in the water, snaps his club over his knee, and then Shane Lowry steps up to the tee, just shanks it so poorly. He wasn't 10 yards close to the island, and all you hear is, in my worst Irish accent, "Oh, you fucking idiot. Oh, fuck." And it was clear as day. The announcer says, "Oh, we apologize. We're so sorry." And it was so hilarious. I woke my 18-month-old from his nap because I kept rewinding it and laughing harder and harder.
It was good times.
And I'm just picturing how you always talk about the old people sitting in their rocking chairs
outraged
watching the PGA Tour. Did you hear that, Maud? What did he say?
I can see your dad waking up from a nap. Just kind of, what just happened?
What
right
happened?
there?
Is there?
Back to sleep again.
So funny. So that's our shot of the week.
Boom.
You fucking idiot. Shane Lowry. What a piece of work he is.
Yeah, another guy who started off real strong the first day. Just amazing tee to green numbers. I don't think I've ever seen a guy play that well from tee to green on the first day. Couldn't hit a putt, of course, which hurt. But he was another guy tied for the lead at different points during the first day, and then just kind of slid back again. He just hasn't been able to finish off a weekend so far, which has been a little bit frustrating. But at least he's making cuts, which is better than you can say about a lot of the other international players who are just coming over for the first time.
Right. So the shot of the week, thank you very much to Swanee's Golf Sandals for sponsoring our shot of the week. Zachary, what's the code, the discount code?
Fantasy golf. I remember. It's a tough one, but yeah, I remember. But yeah, go on, check them out. They've got a great offer out there for us, and they're making sandals great again. So it's a great sandal. You know, Jeff and I are both big fans of it, and we're actually going to get some printed up in the next couple of weeks that have our logo on them. And,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're actually going to use that as one of our prizes for the Wacky Wager. You can go to swaneesfootwear.com and use our code FANTASYGOLF where you'll get 20% off on your order.
Can't wait to get outside and wear them.
Yeah, it's
about 20 degrees today.
Well, today's the last of the bad days though. 16 next week, so
they're actually opening golf courses here in Minnesota. I saw this week.
People here take so much pride in being able to say, "I was out on the course in February."
That's right.
Awesome.
That
Congratulations. Why not just go play on concrete?
You could do that. The greens are brutal, but well.
It's a lot of fun.
On to this week's event. Or actually, no, let's talk about Wacky Wagers first.
Yeah.
You have another piece of
another crushing victory.
Nice.
Actually, the first thing we'll take a look at here, Ray Allen came home. This is from 2 weeks ago here. We've got a signed Ray Allen photo with the Milwaukee Bucks, which is fantastic. We'll have that up in the bar. And then against Ryan Sablotny, I had actually put together a 6-6 squad this week.
Yep.
Which was great, except that I didn't end up entering it in any of the big contests.
But you won a cowboy hat.
I won a cowboy hat,
yes.
And then I had it in a $3 GPP. So cowboy hat and $7 for my 6-6 lineup this last week. I need to do another shot for that. It's embarrassing. So he's going to send off the cowboy hat, and this week we've got Alan Klutz.
Yep.
Is coming on for the challenge, and he is he's an Upper Peninsula guy.
Yep.
And he has a special type of food up there called a pasty. It's not the things that cover my nipples when I dance.
Not the good kind.
Should I do this again? Is that a highlight? Yeah, so he's got a pasty. It's like a little meat pie of some sort. I know. It's all going on the blooper reel here, but it's some kind of meat pie or something. So I guess if I win that, then we'll have a little snack for the show.
Hell yeah.
In a couple of weeks. So Alan Klutz, we're coming for you this week. Get ready for it, and it should be a lot of fun. Alan's been a long time subscriber.
Good guy. He won a big GPP
like
last
20
year.
20 grand, right?
25 grand.
25. Was it at this event too? I think, wasn't it?
Oh, geez, it might have been.
Yeah, I think so, because I know that's when Glenn took it down. This was actually one of my 5K or one of my 5-figure wins last year.
Would you win 12 or
10,000?
10 grand?
Yeah. So the $300 contest this week, I took 4th last year. We actually, one of our subscribers, Glenn Chorney, who I beat for the sweatshirts that we won the other week. We actually had 5 of the same 6 guys.
Right.
So it's one of those things where I'm kind of hateful of Jamie Donaldson. So anytime I see Jamie Donaldson, I kind of cringe. He pivoted off of Donaldson and went with Westwood, who ended up having a nice week. And I had Jamie Donaldson, who just fell further and further back in the standings. So Jamie Donaldson, he cost me $90,000 last year, and Paul Casey.
That's nothing.
Paul Casey cost me $80,000. So it's $170,000 on a couple of guys. So it's. I don't resent that or anything.
No,
we're very happy for our subscribers who do well. But so Glenn won $100,000 at this event last year. I won 10, so it was really good for us last year. So we're pretty excited again. It's going to be it's a tricky event though. You have to kind of get into a little bit different mindset now that it's roughly 70 guys. I think there's 66 or so players that are in the field. We have to take a completely different mindset. It really is not going to work for you to have a balanced lineup this week.
Yep.
Last season when I took fourth, I had the first place, second place, third place guys, and that was still only good for fourth in that contest. So you were going to have to find three guys. You're going to have to find the winner for sure, and two other guys probably in the top five, and then other guys who can just kind of fill in admirably and pump in a couple of extra birdies or maybe an eagle like John Senden threw in for us last year to kind of help things out. But I would suggest if you're entering the GPPs this week, stars and scrubs across the board. Find three guys in that close to 10K range, put them in there, and then just see what makes you not throw up into a garbage can for the other three guys at the bottom, and then kind of stick with that. So
you just kind of tweaked my memory, because 2 years ago at Durrell, I took second in what was then the $200 GPP for 7,500. The only reason I lost is because DJ put it in the stands.
What a surprise, right?
But I had Patrick Reed. I think one of the only, maybe 2% of the field had Patrick Reed in that event.
Wow.
So that was a fun event. So I love this event. We've had a lot of success in it, so I hope that continues.
It's a fun one. A lot of the other non-cut events get a little bit frustrating, but this one's been pretty good to us. I think because this event tends to be a little bit more predictable as far as you need a bomber. If you look at the top of the leaderboard last year, it's just chock full of stars. It's all stars. So it's not one of those things where, you know, some guy at 6,000 jumps up into the lead on the front. Oh, look, it's Camilo Villegas. He's leading after day. I mean, you just don't see that too often. It's pretty consistent in terms of seeing the Bubbas and seeing the DJs and seeing the Adam Scotts, the Stensons.
So you got ahead of ourselves.
A little bit, yeah.
I got to talk about the course. I got to rein you in at 7 a.m.
All right, yeah.
7 a.m., you're just, wow.
I need some more Red Bull over here.
So the tournament's the WGC Cadillac.
Yeah.
It's played at Durrell. We got that. No cut event, small field. It's at TPC Blue Monster at Trump National Durrell. The course is 7,543 yards, par 72, 4 par 5s. Keep in mind, key item to note is it was renovated massively, $200 million upgrade 3 years ago. So when you're looking at tournament history, focus on the last 3 years. You can look back further, but it's a different golf course now.
Yeah, really the last couple, yeah.
Yep.
The last two.
Another tough course, ranked 7th last year on the PGA Tour, so it's going to be, we're going to see the big names up there.
And the Blue Monster is so much fun.
It's
that
awesome.
Last par 4 at the end, guys are just absolutely terrified to hit it left. So you'll see, nobody hits the fairway.
No.
I mean, they're either in the water or they are
in the trees.
way off into the
right.
unknown native area.
Yep.
So that is an amazing hole to end on. It's one of the most fun holes, especially if it's close. Right at the end, there's so much pressure on those guys. So
see if Rory chucks it in the water again. Chucks his club in the water.
That was a lot of fun last year, and then the Donald actually sends somebody out there
to fish it out. Yeah, that was funny.
So that was pretty entertaining.
Top 48 of the 50 world ranked guys will be in the field this week. So everybody's there. There's only a couple that aren't. Who's not there? Furyk isn't there.
Webb Simpson's not here.
Okay.
So he pulled out last week, so he must injury or sickness or something.
Okay. So. Key item to note as well: Hideki Matsuyama withdrew last week.
Yeah, and he had a hip pointer, hip flexor.
Hip pointer was cited. Also, they mentioned a wrist, but I think it was the hip that was the overriding reason.
Yeah.
So this week,
I would just stay away.
Be cautious.
I would stay away. I mean, it's tricky. Last week we liked Jeff Overton, but he had pulled out the week before the injury. Of course, he went on to be one of the 6,000 guys who made the cut.
Right.
Did reasonably well, but it's almost always just a better idea just to stay away from those injured types of players. Because golf, they do such a poor job reporting on how the guy is progressing, what the injuries actually are. You have no idea. And a withdrawal this week is devastation.
It is.
It is devastation. Whatever team you have a guy on who withdraws, dead immediately, because without a cut, you're not going to be able to catch up to other teams that don't lose those players. So, one guy that you always kind of want to look at, Louis Oosthuizen.
Yeah, he's another guy.
Perpetually screws you over, and especially in events like these. He did it last fall, which was brutal. I think was it the Tour Championship?
I think so, where he
pulled out in the first round. He does this.
His neck and back are always an issue.
All the time.
But he won last week.
I know. And now he's flying halfway across the world to play this week, and he took sixth or seventh here last year, so he's an intriguing play, but he's always got the withdrawal. He's
GPP
one of those guys. Yeah, so he's a guy that you'd be a little bit careful with
Here's
those
Matsuyama,
types of
though. If you're doing 30, 40, 50 lineups in the $3,
yeah,
Matsuyama's going to be owned by 4 or 5% of the field,
it'll be
I
small.
guess.
Yeah, it's going to be
so.
small, sure.
You could do worse things than throw him on a couple GPPs because he's obviously dynamic and he has a chance to do really well.
And he's a great ball striker. I mean, he's a guy who keeps the ball out of trouble off the tee, which is where guys in Florida tend to get into a lot of trouble. He hasn't been great. He's got a couple pretty good finishes. I think he was 34th 2 years ago, 23rd. Last year, so nothing spectacular for his price, but his price has come down. He's 9,300 this week.
So just know that there's a chance that he might not be right, but you're going to throw him on there, and if he does, and you're one of 4% of the field, then hell, could be something good.
Now, I'm probably not going to buy him. Who are we going to buy this week?
Well, key stats. Why don't we go over that first?
Yeah.
Strokes gained, tee to green, number 1. Driving distance. I like
bombers,
it. Yep, bombers are key. That's pretty obvious by looking at it. Par 5 scoring. Guys who score on the par 5s absolutely kill it in this field. Birdies are better, and then strokes gained putting in that order.
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah, I think those
Anything
are good.
else?
You could take a look at proximity as well, and scrambling to a smaller extent. Those are also good stats to look at for the week.
All right. So I think if you're looking up top, here's what I think is going to happen. I think guys are going to gravitate, or people are going to gravitate toward Bubba Watson
for sure
and Dustin Johnson. Highest percentage owned are those two, I think.
And JB Holmes.
Well, JB Holmes down below a little bit.
Yep.
Yep. I do agree. I think those two up top are going to suck it away from McIlroy and Spieth.
Yeah, because Rory,
they're cheaper.
And the fact that Rory now has a miscut, and he fell apart the Sunday before that.
Yep.
So people are wondering what's wrong.
Yep.
The sky is apparently falling for Jordan Spieth after one bad round at Riviera. And the truth is that Spieth hasn't had the top finish here the last couple of years because he's not ideal. He's not a bomber.
Nope.
So I think people will probably stay away from Spieth.
I agree.
You'll see single-digit ownership for Spieth. Rory will approach, there will be a few contrarians who jump up. Rory will approach 10. I think he could stay even below 10. You might see 8 or 9 because there's going to be so many people who are going to be on Bubba and DJ.
I agree.
They're at the top. And I think even Adam Scott's going to start to
Adam
pick up
Scott,
steam.
of course.
He was 4th here last year. He's playing incredible. He actually was plus 0.68 in terms of strokes gained putting over the weekend. So it looks like he's starting to get a little more confident and a little more comfortable. And he was great here last year. I think he's got 4 top 10s overall, even though we're not looking at the entire history as far as what he's played. But this is a course he's always been very good at. And
who's your go-to guy up top? If you got to pick a guy, who are you going with?
It's going to be a challenge. It's because there's nobody up there that I look at and say I just don't like this guy. Outright. I can't look at DJ and say I just don't like him this week. Bubba has been on fire at this course. A guy who people haven't seen yet and hasn't played.
Henrik.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. And he's a guy that I think a lot of people are going to forget about.
Probably.
Because they've seen Bubba doing well.
Yeah,
They saw DJ a couple weeks ago do well. They've seen Ricky up near the top
always popular.
a couple times, and they've seen Scott. So I think Henrik Stenson has been over in Europe. He always takes his time getting over here to start the season.
He's been playing well in Europe, though.
He has, although...
Typical Stenson, though.
Yeah, I don't know what that really means.
2nd through 7th every tournament.
And he was a top 5 guy here last year. He was 5th last year. So I think he's a guy that you can start a lot of teams around this week.
Yep.
And I think his ownership will be just a little lower than all the other guys that are right around him. So you may have a little extra edge there. So I think that's probably a pretty good starting point overall. But I don't think you can really go wrong if you're on Scott, Bubba, or DJ at the top.
Right.
I think you have to play one of those guys that we mentioned at the top. I mean, if you just last week we kind of skipped the top range a little bit, and a couple of those guys ended up not playing the weekend. Phil started off great and then fell back to the middle of the pack, and then the other 2 of the guys ended up being up there. It was pretty unpredictable. This week, I think for the most part, the stars that we're looking at are going to be very competitive.
The pricing takes me back to the Fantasy Golf World Championship, and I was toying with the idea of stacking Ricky Fowler and Henrik Stenson that week, and there they are right together again, and you can stack them easily.
Don't
and had I
say
done that, we would be
when did you say
about
that?
$200K richer.
I don't remember you saying that.
Oh, I was toying with the idea. I was toying with a lot of ideas, but now I see Fowler and Stenson right there.
It's all so clear.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to stack them this week, and hopefully the same thing happens.
Yeah, I think people might be a little bit off Ricky. They do tend to gravitate towards guys who have very good tournament histories here, and there's a lot of guys who have top 10. Ricky hasn't had a lot of those.
No, he has not.
But if you look back at what Ricky's done the last couple of events in Phoenix, he really didn't have a ton of success there.
Right.
Second, and he really should have won that event. And then last week was another event, the Honda. He really hadn't had a ton of success there, and really, if it had not been for
couple balls in the water.
Yeah, I mean, he just pissed away his round on Saturday, and other than that, he would have been competing on Sunday.
I know.
So
he's legit.
He's progressing. I mean, he was very, very good last year. He's approaching great right now. So I think he could be a play where the ownership level just dips a little because the guys that are right around him are to be so heavily owned.
Yep. So we dropped down. You had mentioned JB Holmes at 9,400. He's going to be heavily owned.
I think I could see him being owned by 25% of the field.
I think my prediction was right around 25%.
Playing great. 5 out of 6 finishes this year inside the 11th or better. His tee to green game is even better than what it was last season. His putting is about the same. It's average. It's above 0 for strokes gained, which is good, but not that high. And typically he does well with the par 5s. Typically he makes a lot of birdies in terms of where he was ranked last year statistically. So I think at that price you'll probably see a lot of people own one of the studs and then JB Holmes. That'll be the combination. It'll be Scott JB, Bubba JB.
Yep.
You'll see that over and over and over. I can see that in a ton of different
because
lineups.
You can't stack Watson, DJ, and Holmes.
It's impossible. I tried it. I tried it. You can't do it. I think dropping down, you get an interesting play on Patrick Reed this week at 9,100.
Yes.
That's our bounce back play. I mean, that's just the contrarian play where you look at the guy who burned the most people last week, and you just
like Sergio the week before.
Yeah, you just kind of push your chips back in reluctantly and hope that he does well. And hopefully those couple extra days of rest that he got last weekend kind of cleared his angry head out a little bit, and he'll come back strong. I mean, this is a guy who won here 2 years ago, so he certainly has the upside to do it, and I think his ownership will be, just given the fact that JB is right there above him, is going to take out most of the people who were wanting to buy at that range. So I think Patrick Reed, again, and we talk about him almost every week, I think he's a great play this weekend.
I do too. That range, Brooks Koepka, I think, is a great play with a no-cut event. He's going to rack up DK points. Really back to that price where I like him at. I like him in the low 9s as opposed to the high 10s.
I mean, he's not... I'm not going to say this for certain, but he makes too many mistakes to actually win in his home state.
There we go.
He's a Florida guy.
Yes.
But these courses are just set up so that blow-up artists like him have 2 or 3 bad holes in a row, and once you get rolling, all of a sudden you've lost 3-4 strokes.
Yep.
Kind of like he did on Sunday. I mean, he just sort of fell back, and he was kind of near the top 10, and then
it was typical though, birdie, triple.
Right.
And
that's what you see. You just go in the water one time, and then he starts banging his club on his bag, and then pretty soon he's wrecked his round. But he will put up a lot of points. I mean, he certainly fits the bomber category this week. He can putt the ball pretty well. He makes a lot of birdies. So.
And I also like Justin Thomas in that area. Par 5 score, looked good last week.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks. But it was really big, I think, at Riviera. It looked early on day 2 like he was bound to miss the cut again. And that would have been his 3rd missed cut in a row there. And he just hung on right onto the cut line, just made it through the weekend. It wasn't a great finish. I think he finished 53rd or 54th that weekend. But I just think it did a lot for him to not blow a 3rd cut in a row.
Yep.
And so he came into last week and he played great. He was 8,100, so it worked out really well. And that was probably the time to get him because everybody had finally kind of jumped off the Justin Thomas bandwagon after 2 really bad weeks and then one kind of mediocre week. So last week he finally kind of came back, had that 3rd place finish overall, which is great for him. And at 8,800, I think people will probably stay off of him a little bit because people are so reliant on tournament history. He doesn't have any here. Statistically, he fits very, very well. He has the type of skills that we're looking for here. But, he's another young player who can blow up in a hurry, put a couple balls in the line. I mean, he was contending on Sunday, and then one hole, you're done.
Yep.
So I think he'll do well at 8,800. He's one of the few guys who got a salary bump this week in that middle range. Just with so many quality players coming into the field, almost everybody was moved downward.
Right.
He actually gets a little bit of a bump this week. But yeah, I think he is an interesting play this week.
Oh, thank you.
You will.
So if you drop down into let's go to the low 8s, 7s, who are you targeting in that range?
Well, I think everybody will probably have a big bullseye on Matt Kuchar at 8,400. I thought he was mispriced this week. After his last finish where he shot up into the top 10 the other week, and he's played really well here over the years, I was thinking he'd probably be closer to 9,000, maybe 9,100. So I think we get a little bit of a break in terms of the price at 8,400. If you're going to play cash games this week, Kuchar is probably a great place to just put him into all your cash game lineups. Across the board. Guy is just super consistent. He's another guy who he's not going to win here.
No, probably not.
Not going to win here, but I could very easily see him being 9th place, 12th place, something like that at the end of the week.
Avoid the blow-ups.
We were very, very happy with him at 8,400. I think he is a great price. Highly owned. I could see Kuchar approaching close to 20%
you think so?
ownership. I know you had him. I think you had him a little bit lower, but I think he's going to be such an anchor in that middle range for folks that they're going to have. I think a lot of lineups will be 2 real top guys, and they'll drop down into that middle 8 range, grab a guy like Kuchar, and then still have some space so that they don't have to take total bottom feeders with their last 3 guys. So I could see him being really highly owned. Looking down a little bit, there's a couple of guys who are probably don't have the same sort of name strength as Kuchar, who I think are also good plays this week. If you look down at Schwartzel at 8,500, he was a guy who was playing really well overseas before he came over. It was a little bit disappointing for his price point at Riviera a couple weeks back, but he's had quite a few top 10 finishes here over the years. So I think if you're looking for a GPP pivot, I think just going up $100 to a guy like Schwartzel makes a little bit of sense to get away from some of that high ownership of Kuchar.
Sure. If you drop down even further, I don't think he's going to be real far under the radar, but Danny Willett at 7,800 I think is a good play. He's been playing well. Although what does scare me a little bit is the Euros who are coming over in their first event have not played well. Schwartzel, Sergio, Brandon Grace, Wiesberger, Fitzpatrick, all of those guys bombed in their first event over, and this is Danny's first event over.
Although to his credit, last year when he showed up, he took 12th.
He did. He played well here last year, so I'm kind of mixed on him. I think he's got a tremendous talent. I think 7,800 is an outstanding price for him. Just a little bit worried about his first event. Dropping down further, Shane Lowry.
Sure, 7,400. Yeah, his price goes down. He was the guy that I had on my roster last year when he took 17th here and just played real steady all 4 days. But yeah, he's definitely a guy at 7,400. I think that's a really nice price for him. Definitely a guy I could see finishing probably in the top 30 or so for the week. So I don't mind having him there. He's a guy who's proven that he's not going to get too rattled over here so far. He's one of the few guys who came over right away and didn't miss the cut immediately and has played pretty well so far. So I think he's a pretty good guy to look at when you're trying to save a little bit of cap space. There.
Who else you like down in the lower range?
Oh boy. So another guy I think people will probably be on him a little bit this week is Mark Leishman at 7,800, coming off of a real nice finish there at Riviera the other week. He's another guy. He's a bomber. He's a big guy, the Australian. He hits it pretty well. So I think he's somebody that people are going to be looking at when they start to look at bombers and they want to find somebody in that low 8s or high 7s range. I think Leishman will probably be a guy that people gravitate toward. He's up and down. I mean, some weeks he can show up like that and finish up in the top 5. Other weeks when we've had him, he looks a little lost and
GPP
kind of middle of the pack. But at 7,800, I think that's a pretty nice price for Leishman.
Anyone else? I know who. So at 6,500, I just feel like everyone's going to be on Smiley.
I think the Smiley train will be picking up some steam.
I do. Yeah. He's the big name in that range. I think he hits 20% maybe.
He hits the ball plenty of distance.
Yeah.
He putts the ball pretty well, and he made the cut last week, which I think people were relieved with. Had he missed, that would have been 3 in a row for him. So that would have kind of put him into some dangerous waters there.
Yep.
I think the pivot play this week, and it's kind of a get the garbage can, I'm going to throw up sort of guy.
Who's that?
I think we have to look back, and you're going to hate it because he killed you last week, but and it's ugly. But I think we got to take a little bit of a look at Danny Berger at 6,600.
Is his girlfriend there?
I'm sure she is. I mean,
can we get some camera time for Daniel Berger's girlfriend, please?
It'd be prettier than his play.
Yeah.
But here's what I like with Berger this week. He tends to play pretty well in no-cut events. I mean, last season, the reemergence took place. It kind of started at Deutsche. It kind of started at Deutsche Bank, where there was it's a 100-player field, so only 30 guys were going to get cut. But then it really took off at BMW the next week. There's a 70-man field.
Okay.
Tied for second place the next week. Finishes the season at Tour Championship, tied for 12th, pretty respectable considering the competition that he was up against.
Right.
You go into the fall, the CIMB didn't work out great for him. He was not really near the top. But a week later at the WGC, 11th place in that event as well.
Interesting, Zachary.
So, he is still in his home state of Florida.
Yeah.
He's still, the tee to green games, there's just the putter's really been awful.
Yeah.
And then once he gets a little rattled, it can be erratic. But I think without the cut, it takes that pressure off of him in round 1 or round 2 to get ahead, because you can tell it's in his head on Friday afternoon when he's hovering around that cut line.
Right.
And then the wheels just come off the wagon. When he doesn't have to think about that, he tends to play a little bit better. And so I don't love him this week by any stretch, but if I'm looking to put 3 guys at 10K onto my roster this week, those are the kind of guys that you have to look at the bottom and say, who can I handle here? I think a lot of people are probably going to go to Bowditch. I hate the way Bowditch is playing. I mean, if Berger's game is ugly right now, Bowditch's game is...
And I think he might actually be kind of popular, because when you build teams, you have to drop down there. So for those of you who are asking, in that absolute bottom range, the guys that I kind of am going to go with, I'm not going to go with Bowditch because I think he's going to be high owned and he sucks.
Yeah, and if he's owned by more than 5-6% of the field, I don't want him.
I know.
It doesn't give me enough advantage for how badly he's playing. Now we just put,
kiss of death.
Put
right
our stamp right on him,
because he either wins or is a disaster.
He is the true GPP player, where he will be close to competing, or he will shoot an 83 and be just dead the first day.
Yep. But the 2 names I'll give you is Christopher Broberg.
Huh? Wow.
And Scott Hend.
Yeah.
Those are the guys who I like, because I think they will be low owned. They're in the absolute bottom if you have to go down there.
Yeah.
And if you're stacking and you're doing true stars and scrubs,
and Hend kind of paid off for me at the last WGC event that he played in back in the fall. So
and nobody knows about those guys.
That didn't work out too badly. Yeah, and there's a couple other guys down there as well. I know Ross Fisher at 6,700. I think some people will know him, but he doesn't quite have the name value as a handful of those other guys.
Right. Or even the guys surrounding him with Donaldson and Wiesberger. I don't think his name is as popular as those two even.
No, I think people will probably be on Donaldson after he made the cut the last couple weeks. They're going to look in the seat. They're going to see he took second here 2 years ago. That's the kind of thing that draws people's attention. So I think, again, we told people last year to kind of pivot off of Donaldson. It might be the case this year as well. And then if he, T44s it like he did for me last year, you won't be so upset. So I think Ross Fisher might be a nice play there. I think even Wiesberger, he was 31st or so last year, but nobody after the last 2 weeks is going to own him. And
he's a long ball hitter.
Yeah,
big guy.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not as bad as what we've seen. Just for some reason he's picking tournaments that just don't fit his style very well. I would have thought after last year, you just screw it. I'm not going to play Riviera again. That didn't work out for me very well at all. He came right back at almost an identical result.
Well, he's so good in Europe, and then he comes over here, and it's a massive disappointment in most events.
Yeah, but last year, if you look at the results, if you stuck with him here and there, especially in events like this where there's no cut now, he did have a pretty considerable amount of top 30, top 25 types of fitters.
Right.
Top 20, 25 was about his ceiling, but if he had him those weeks, he was cheap and nobody
Yeah.
owned him. So
Yep.
it's not a bad contrarian play. So I think that's probably everybody.
All right, everyone else, read the Daily Spin, which will come out on Wednesday. Zach writes that. It'll have the optimal lineup in it from the model, but be sure to download the model and work out the percentages yourself. Hit us up on Twitter at Fantasy Golfers. Zach will do Periscope on Wednesday night at 9-ish.
9-ish, yeah.
Email us at info@fantasygolfinsider.com with any questions. That's all we got. You got anything else?
No, I'm going to take a nap now.
All right, you go to sleep. WGC this week. Everybody, good luck. If you need anything, let us know. And thanks for being loyal members.
Good luck.